to Notability. Okay, perfect. So you're downloading the Byzantine Empire and the Tour Guide Culture book.
None of the Schoology app and the Schoology online aren't working. I can't download them.
Of course they aren't. Lovely. Okay. Well, what I want you to do is just kind of follow along. I'm recording this presentation. Don't worry, I can't see your faces. It just shows my screen. But I'm going to record this and then post to Schoology once it is like actually behaving and working. So instead, we're just going to walk through this together kind of as a class. Does that work and sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Technology is wonderful until it doesn't work. Okay, so the two documents that you should have downloaded were one that looks like this. It's called the Byzantine Empire Tour. And then the other one is a tour guide that looks like this. It's like a whole bunch of readings. Okay. So what we're going to start out with is we are just going to take a quick snapshot of what the city of Constantinople was like. And if you remember from the ancient Rome unit, right, Constantinople became the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire. So the Roman Emperor Constantine moved the capital of Rome from Rome to Constantinople, right, which is modern-day Istanbul, Turkey. And he established a new Christian capital within the eastern half of the Roman Empire. As the western half of the Roman Empire fell and crumbled, right, you should have read about that last week, talked about like the tax system was overwhelming, talked about how the western half of the Roman Empire was getting invaded by a bunch of different groups of people. There were unrest, there's hunger, famine, all those fun things. Okay. The western half of the Roman Empire crumbles, kind of falls into disarray. The eastern half of the Roman Empire, however, continues to thrive. So this eastern half of the Roman Empire becomes what we call the Byzantine Empire. Okay. And that's what we are going to look at today. So we are going to start out with the capital being Constantinople or Istanbul. Okay. The Emperor Constantine chose this capital for multiple reasons. Okay. It had a really good harbor, so for ships and trade to make money, which was super important, right? Because if your empire isn't making money and they're not trading, you're not going to be successful. But then it was also chosen because of its strategic location. It's surrounded by water on 3 sides, which means that the city itself only needed to be defended on one side. So they only had to build a wall along one side of the city because the water served as a natural barrier or a natural protection for the rest of this city. Okay. Constantinople became the shipping and trading crossroads between Europe and Asia. So I'm going to see if this will work. It didn't work earlier. Nope, no dice. Okay. Internet in general is just down today. So I'll just keep talking. Okay. So like I said, it became the shipping and trading crossroads within Europe and Asia. So if you were trying to get product from anywhere in Europe to anywhere in Asia, you literally had to cross through Constantinople. Okay. So whoever ruled Constantinople was in the position to control all of the shipping and trade between Asia and Europe, as well as trade between Russia and the Mediterranean empires. Okay. So whoever was in control of the Byzantine Empire and Constantinople had a really powerful world position, and they were able to control who was coming and going and what trade was being facilitated. Since Constantinople began as the eastern capital of the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire and then their culture was heavily influenced by the Roman Empire. And the city of Constantinople itself was modeled a lot like Rome, meaning it was built onto a hill and had different districts. Constantinople functioned a lot of the same way. You have different districts that operate from or operate under different realms. So, like you had a trade district, you had a different district where people lived, marketplace districts, things like that.
I have a quick
Yeah.
question. So I'm just gonna make sure that I ask this. Am I the only person getting kicked out with internet connection?
No. It seems like a lot of people are coming and going, and the internet sucks in general right now. So, no, you are not the only one.
Okay.
Okay, Schoology is like being finicky. Everything is like hit or miss. I am recording this whole thing, so it will all be posted on Schoology when we are done. So if you miss any part of it. Great question. Okay. Okay, talking about Constantinople and the Byzantine Empire, Roman influence. They continued to host like extravagant games and chariot races in Constantinople. So it's a way to like buy the people's support and love and to entertain them. They continued with the distribution of bread to citizens. So kind of like a food bank or a meal system for the people within Constantinople. The army continued to follow Roman military traditions. However, progressive Byzantine empires began to select their officials based on talent and competence rather than their social standing. Meaning, the people that were ruling Constantinople were making decisions because they were like mentally and physically capable. They had the education behind their position. They weren't just granted a government position because they had a lot of money. And so you had actual educated, knowledgeable people that were making decisions in the city. And then, like I said, Constantinople was the first major Christian city. So within Constantinople itself, you have a blend of Christianity, Roman customs, and then Greek classical culture as well. So it was really a blend of different ancient civilizations that began to thrive. And then within the city itself, they worked on preserving and coding Roman legal tradition into something that we call Justinian law or Justinian code. Okay, so moving on to talk about Justinian. Justinian was one of the emperors in the Byzantine Empire. So he was one of the rulers. He is the most well-known Byzantine emperor. He expanded the Byzantine Empire to the greatest size that it ever was. And what was interesting about the Byzantine Empire is that whoever was the emperor, so whoever was in charge of the empire, had two roles. Not only were they the head of the state, meaning the head of the Byzantine Empire, but he was also the head of the Christian church in the Byzantine Empire. So he was both head of church and state. So any emperor within the Byzantine Empire had those two roles. So there was no separation between religion and political life at this point. Like I said, Justinian worked on codifying Roman laws and statutes. So that meant that he took 400 years worth of Roman law and kind of boiled it down and made a legal system that was the same throughout the entire Byzantine Empire. We call this the Code of Justinian or the Justinian Code, and it becomes the basis for much of our Western legal system. And then Justinian's finest and most long-lasting achievements were his building programs. He built a giant church called the Hagia Sophia that we are going to talk about in a minute. His coding, so the creation of that legal system. He also built various other churches, monasteries, hospitals, public baths, libraries, things like that. Okay. So Theodora was Justinian's wife. Okay. And what is interesting about Theodora is people were not a fan of her to begin with. Okay. Theodora has a very colorful background. She was an exotic dancer before she was her emperor, the emperor's wife. So she did things that were kind of outside of the moral legal code. And then when Justinian married her, a lot of people were surprised with how he could marry somebody like that. But she took on her role of empress and really kind of convinced Justinian to do a lot of things in the empire. So at one point in time, there was this huge rebellion and uprising called the Nika Rebellion, and Theodora actually helped Justinian put the empire down, or put the rebellion down, and ended up saving the empire. So kind of without her guidance and without her ability to navigate situations, Justinian wouldn't have been a super great emperor, but instead he actually listened to his wife, which was really rare at this time in history. And she played a really important role and really pushed for women's rights and equality and taking care of all citizens throughout the empire. Okay. The next thing that we have is the Hagia Sophia. Okay. So the Hagia Sophia was called the Church of Holy Wisdom. It was built by Justinian as a way to kind of give back to the people. Okay. The Hagia Sophia was super ornate on the inside, meaning lots of gold, lots of sparkles, lots of little like nooks and crannies that are decorated. But on the outside, the church is very plain. And that was very typical of other Byzantine buildings at this point in time, right? So on the inside, they're beautiful and colorful and super ornate and intricate and detailed, but on the outside, it's just kind of plain brick. And so to begin with, the Hagia Sophia was built as a Christian church, and it shows how you have the combination between like East and West with architecture. So you have the thick pillars of very large enclosed space, which is reminiscent of Roman architecture, but the design and the decoration on the inside, like the mosaics, was really reflective of Eastern influences. So it's a nice blend between the East and the West. The architectural style of the Hagia Sophia ends up spreading throughout the empire. So in a lot of places in Eastern Europe, a lot of the churches and buildings are built similarly to the Hagia Sophia. And when the city of Constantinople fell to the Turks, which we are going to read about in next unit, so Unit 6 in World History B. So when it fell to the Turks, they ended up converting the Hagia Sophia from a Christian church to an Islamic mosque. And today it's a museum, okay? But then it's slowly getting turned back into a mosque. So the Hagia Sophia has been a church, a mosque, a museum, and then now it's getting turned back into a mosque.
Are we supposed to be filling this in as you go?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm just walking you through is like the fill in the blank stuff. Thanks for asking. I think I forgot to say that. I would be filling it in with you, but my like filler in thing, Cami, the app that I use, decided not to work either. Okay. Religious images in the Byzantine Empire. So icons were seen as religious images, and this idea of icon worship or icon veneration causes a split between the Eastern and Western churches. Okay. So having images of certain religious figures and then praying to those images or creating altars or worshiping those images create conflict between Eastern Christians and Western Christians. Okay, so we have a split in the Christian church. Okay, and the Western Christian church becomes known as the Holy Roman Catholic Church. Okay, so the Roman Catholic Church. And then the Eastern Christian church becomes the Orthodox Church. Okay, so here you have the split between Catholicism and Eastern Orthodox. So Roman Catholic is in the West, Eastern Orthodox is in the East. And this split between Eastern and Western Christianity, right, is called the Great Schism. Okay? And when the church splits, it doesn't reunite. Right? We still have the Roman Catholic Church today, and then we still have the Eastern Orthodox Church today. So part of this split, right, came down to icon veneration or icon worship. In the Roman Catholic Church, it's okay to worship different images within Christianity. So you have altars that are dedicated to the Virgin Mary. You have altars that are dedicated to different saints, and you have different prayers and images of these people. In the Eastern Orthodox Church, icon veneration or icon worship was not accepted. Right? So they do not worship certain images or idols of anybody other than God and Jesus. And those were the only two images that were okayed within the Eastern Orthodox Church. Okay. Another difference between Eastern Orthodoxy and Roman Catholicism is in the Eastern Orthodox Church, your Mass or your sermon was conducted in Greek. Okay, so because most people spoke Greek, whereas in the Roman Catholic Church, Mass was conducted in Latin. Okay. Then another difference is in the Eastern Orthodox Church, whoever was the emperor of the Byzantine Empire was considered the head of the church, whereas in the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope was considered the head of the church. Okay. So in Eastern Orthodoxy, whoever was the political ruler was the head of the church as well, whereas in the Roman Catholic Church, you have a separation of church and state, where your political monarch is one person, and then your religious leader is another person. Okay. Any questions about this split between kind of East and West? That's an important part in world history where we get that split. Quickly wrapping up trade. Like I said, Constantinople connected the three continents of Europe, Asia, and Africa. Okay. If you were trading between any of these three places, you went through Constantinople. And trade was everything from rugs and shoes to fruit and vegetables to spices and peppers to ivory and gold to honey and wood and pretty much anything that you can imagine. Okay. Along with this trade of actual goods became the trade of ideas that we call cultural diffusion. That should be a review from Human Geography last year. So when people from two different places connect with one another and trade goods, they're not only sharing their physical goods, but they're sharing ideas, religion, language, customs, things like that. So you see this spread of cultures and this mix of cultures throughout the world that all kind of meet in Constantinople. And then Constantinople became a launching point for Christian missionaries or people that wanted to spread Christianity. Okay. So what I am going to do with this Byzantine culture tour is when the interwebs get working again, I'm going to fill this in for you and post the completed version so you have it. Okay, so if you didn't get any of these filled in, that's fine. I'm just going to post the completed version. Questions about that?
Yeah, I have a question. Do
What's
you
up?
want us to turn it in?
No, I do not want you to turn it in. This is basically just like a notes overview because this information is on your Unit 5 test next week. So I just wanted to make sure we could like walk through it all together and understood everything. So great question. No, you don't have to turn it in. Okay, because I am going to go through and I'm just going to write myself a note. Post Byzantine culture tour answers. Okay, and then you don't have to worry about watching this breakdown video since we kind of did it all together as a class. Instead, what we are going to do now for the last 30 minutes of class is we do have an assignment. It's called the Justinian Code activity. Okay. So those of you that are on, is Schoology working yet for you?
Schoology still isn't working for me.
Okay. What about anybody else? Yes, no, maybe so.
It's still not working for me
Schoology
either.
isn't working for me either, but I'm not
Right.
surprised because how my connection was earlier. It kicked me out a couple times because my connection wasn't working.
Okay.
It's not even working on the website for me.
Okay, yeah, make sure you guys are using the website, not the Schoology app. Okay, if you're using the Schoology app, it probably isn't working.
Actually, I'm using the app. It's been working perfectly fine. I'm only gonna switch to the website if the app isn't working. Because otherwise, that works
The
perfectly.
website's not working either. Like, it's not working at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm using the app and it's working just fine.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm checking my emails. I have like 5 emails. It's like, Schoology isn't working. It's not working. It's not working. It's not working. Yeah, I know it's not working. Okay. Okay. So my Schoology is working. What we are going to do is we can see if we can get part of this assignment done together. Okay, So if your Schoology is working, that's awesome. Please follow along. If it's not working, that's okay as well. Just follow along with what we're doing. Today's just going to be flexible. We're fine with that. So the assignment or the activity for today is we're going to take a look and compare legal code from California, so like modern legal code, to the code of laws that were created by the Emperor Justinian in the Byzantine Empire. Okay, so that's where he took like all the Roman law and boiled it down and made it more applicable. Okay, so we're just going to compare how Justinian law from the Byzantine Empire is different than modern California law code. So if your Schoology is working, please download the Justinian Code PDF and the Justinian Code scenarios and put them into the same note. I'm going to see if this works for me yet. It's probably going to be a big fat no. Yep, sounds about right. Okay, well, I'll just view it then. Okay, so the Justinian Code activity looks like this. Okay, then the scenarios. Look like this. Okay, so you can put those two documents into the same note if your assignment is working. And then the third thing is Justinian Code articles. Too far. Wait, whoa. Okay, I guess we're going with that one. Okay, so to get started, and like I said, we will be analyzing Justinian Code laws and California laws to try to compare and contrast the two different laws. Okay, so instead of breaking you up into groups, we're going to do this as a whole group, and we are going to read through each of these scenarios. So we have 4 different scenarios or 4 different law topics. Right? They are marriage, assault, robbery, and wills. After we read through each scenario, we're going to take a look at how those topics were discussed in Justinian Code, so in the Byzantine Empire. And then we're going to take a look at how those topics are discussed in modern California laws. Okay? And then we have a question to answer after each of them. So we are going to do this, like I said, together, and it'll make sense as we go. So if you have Schoology working, please fill this out. Okay? Again, if your Schoology is working, please fill out this assignment as you are going. Okay. So our legal scenario number 1 is talking about marriage. Okay? In this picture, we see a man asking a woman to marry him. Gymnastics is the 23-year-old son of an unemployed magician. He travels the county fair carnival circuit as a knife-juggling acrobatic clown. Wilma B. McBride is his girlfriend, and she comes from a wealthy family and is a 29-year-old fashion designer who is in the process of divorcing her first husband. While Jim's parents actively support their son's want to marry Wilma, Wilma's parents are very much against the idea. Indeed, Wilma's father told her that she is forbidden to marry Jim. Okay, so that's our scenario. 2 people want to get married. Okay, Jim is this poor circus guy. Wilma is a rich fashion designer. Okay, Wilma is older than Jim. Jim's parents are all for the marriage. They're like, yep, you do it, buddy. Wilma's parents are like, no way, you cannot marry him. Okay? Jim has never been married, single as can be. Wilma is in the process of getting divorced. So, based on this information, okay, here is what marriage is identified as under the Justinian Code of Law. Okay, so according to the law in the Byzantine Empire, citizens are joined together in lawful wedlock when they are united according to law, the man having reached the years of puberty and the woman being of a marriageable age, provided that they have consent from their parents. It is not every woman that can be taken as a wife, for marriage within certain classes of persons is forbidden. Thus, father, daughter, grandfather, granddaughter, mother, son, grandmother, grandson, uncle, niece, etc., are incapable of lawfully marrying. Brother and sister are prohibited from intermarriage. However, the children of two brothers or sisters, or of a brother and sister, may lawfully intermarry. A man cannot have two wives at the same time, nor can a woman have two husbands at the same time. So, under Justinian Code, okay, can Jim and Wilma get married? Under Justinian Code, can Jim and Wilma get married? What do you guys think?
I think no, because it says that your parents have to be on board, and her parents aren't.
Correct. Absolutely. Okay, so I am going to share this document instead. Okay, can you guys see my Word doc?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, Justinian Code. Okay, the answer was no. Wilma's parents said no. Okay, what's another reason why they cannot marry according to the Justinian Code?
Wilma is getting a divorce.
Right,
now.
so that means she's legally still married. Okay. Legally still married to her first husband. Okay. Those are our two reasons why they cannot get married according to Justinian Code. Her parents said no, and she's still married. Okay. Flipping back to our other document. Okay, can you guys all see my Schoology now with the California code?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So according to California law, right, marriage is a personal relation from a legal contract between a man and a woman, to which the consent of the bride and groom is necessary. Consent alone will not produce marriage. It must be licensed, solemnized, authenticated, and the certificate of registry of marriage must be filed with the local county records. Any unmarried male, the age of 18 years or upward, and any unmarried female, the age of 18 years or upward, may not, and not otherwise disqualified, are capable of consenting to and consummating marriage. Any unmarried male or female under the age of 18 is capable of marrying if the following documents are filed. Right? The consent in writing of one parent, a court order granting permission, and proof that each person has participated in premarital counseling. Marriages between parents and children, ancestors and descendants of every degree, and between brother and sister, and between uncles and nieces or aunts and nephews is illegal. The act of entering into a contracted marriage with one person while still legally married to another is illegal. So, based on California law, can Wilma and Jim get married? What do you guys think? Based on California law, can Wilma and Jim get married?
I think they can because all they need is consent.
Okay. So they need to
From
say
their
yes to each other, right? They did that. But is Wilma still legally married?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? She's still legally married. So no, they can't get married yet. As soon as her divorce is finalized, absolutely have at it, kids. Right? Knock your socks off. But until then, no, they can't. Okay. Wilma is still legally married. So after her divorce is finalized, right, absolutely they can get married. But until that happens, it's a no-go. Okay. Until that happens, it is a no-go. So, based on this information, okay, which legal code do you personally think is better? You don't have to answer this out loud, but on your sheet of paper, okay, somewhere on your sheet of paper, okay, mark which legal code you think is better, the Justinian Code or the California Code of Law for marriage. Okay, and just mark like an asterisk underneath and just write which one. So for example, I would argue that California law is better, right? Because they don't need parent consent, right? All they have to do is just be into each other and be like, hey, you want to get married? We're not related. Neither one of us is legally married. We're over the age of 18. Cool, let's do this thing. Okay. So again, this is a personal preference question, but in the box below where it says marriage, okay, write which one you personally think is better. Okay. Then we are going to move on to legal scenario number 2, which is on assault. Can you guys see my Schoology page where it has legal scenario number 2 up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So in this slide, okay, we see 2 men fighting down here. Bert Ernemete is a wealthy senator who was struck by Don and Out, a homeless person. Don, the homeless guy, was frustrated with the senator's refusal to support the president's homeless program. Don hoped to draw attention to the homeless problem by directly confronting the senator outside his office where a small crowd was assembled. After enduring a verbal barrage of obscenities, okay, the senator attempted to push past Don and get into his limousine. At this point, Don, the homeless guy, punched the senator with a closed fist. The senator responded by shoving Don to the ground. It took 2 police officers several minutes to separate the 2 men. Okay? So these 2 get in a fight. Okay? Senator tries to push past Don the homeless guy. Don the homeless guy throws a sucker punch, clocks him in the jaw. Fight ensues. According to the Justinian Code, okay, here's what it says about assault and battery. So, an injury is defined as anything which is done without any just cause. An injury or outrage is inflicted not only by striking with a fist, a stick, a whip, but also by repetition, the use of harsh or abusive language, for the purpose of collecting a crowd, or by writing, composing, or publishing words or poetry that are outrageous and untrue. The amount of money awarded to a victim of an injury rises and falls in the amount according to the class and character of the victim. For example, if the victim holds a government position and is outraged by a person of a low condition, okay, such a victim is entitled to a greater compensation than if the injury was inflicted by another government official. A person who has been outraged always has his option between civil remedy, so that's only involving a financial penalty, and a criminal indictment, which is when the accused could be sent to jail. If he prefers a civil remedy, the penalty which is imposed depends on the victim's own estimate of the wrong he has suffered. If he prefers a criminal trial, it is the judge's duty to inflict the harshest possible penalty. So, according to Justinian Code, right, what happens in this situation? Who is considered the victim in this situation according to the Justinian Code? The senator or Don, the homeless guy? What do you guys think? Who is the victim in this story according to Justinian Code? I'll give you a hint. It's the guy that gets punched in the face. Who got punched in the face?
The senator?
Yeah. Okay. And because the senator is the victim, he gets to determine what happens to Don. Okay. So he gets to pick either a financial payment from Don. So he either gets to pick like money, or okay, he gets to send Don to trial, right? Where he gets told like he's going to jail. And because the senator is of a higher social status, right? He's a government official and Don is a homeless guy. He gets more money and Don gets a harsher sentence. Okay. So if we take a look, and now we want to look at California Code instead. Okay, so according to California Code of Law, every person is bound without contract to resist from injuring the person or property of another. An assault is an unlawful attempt together with the present ability to commit a violent injury on the body of another. An assault is punishable by a fine not exceeding $1,000 or by imprisonment in the county jail not exceeding 6 months, or by both. Battery is any willful and unlawful use of force or violence upon the body of another. A battery is punishable by a fine not exceeding $2,000 or by imprisonment in the county jail not exceeding 6 months, or by both. So, according to California Code of Law, is there a victim here, or are they both guilty? Okay, according to California Code, is there a victim, or are they both guilty?
I think they're both guilty.
Yeah, they are both guilty. And they're both guilty of assault. Okay? That's because Don punched the senator, right? But then the senator punched him back and they got into a brawl. If the senator had not reacted and just kept walking after Don punched him, then the senator would be the victim, right? But because he fought back, they are both considered guilty. Okay? So they both have to pay a fine or face jail time. Okay. So again, now what I want you to do is to determine which code of law do you think is better? Okay? Do you think the Justinian Code is better, or do you think that the California Code is better? Okay, there is no right answer.
The California Code is better in this because it depends on how the person
Oh, yeah.
reacts.
Okay. So,
and they put a limit to it.
yeah.
So
Okay.
you can't go overboard and send them away for jail for life, like if he just hit you once.
Right, exactly. So it takes into account how serious the reaction is, right? Whereas in Justinian Code, you're kind of at the mercy of the judge, right? The judge could really just not like you and send you to jail forever because you hit somebody in the street.
And it also depends on the victim as well, the person you hit.
Yep, absolutely.
If they have have a lot of power at their disposal, you're pretty much screwed.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. So whatever you think is better, I want you to write under assault, whichever law code you think is better. Okay. Then what we are going to do is we have 2 minutes left of class. Okay. So your assignment for tonight, it should take you about 10-15 minutes, is to finish up your Justinian Code assignment. Okay. So we've done 2 of the 4 scenarios. So you have robbery and the writing of a will are the last 2 that you will need to read through and then read the code of laws for each of them and then finish filling out your sheet about how each one, like how the scenario would be affected by each one, which one you think is better, and then you have a summary question. So the summary question is just overall, what do you think is better and why? Okay. So your homework assignment for tonight is to finish the Justinian Code activity. We got halfway through. Your job is to finish the other half. Okay. What questions do you have?
Do we turn this one in?
Yes, you do turn this one in. Okay, the Justinian Code assignment is graded. You get points for it. Great question. Other questions?
Do we turn in the other one that we did?
No, you are not going to turn in the Byzantine Code one. I originally had that one set as yes, but I'm going to go in and change it to not graded, and then I'm going to post the filled out answer key thing for that one, so you have all the information. Because our technology sucked this morning. Great question. Other questions?
How do we do attendance?
How do you do attendance? Okay. Well, attendance doesn't count today because the internet sucks. But usually how attendance is going to work is you have to log into this Google Meets call, and like at the end of class now, I would look through and see who is all here and who's not here. And then I would take attendance that way. So if you're logged into the Google Meets call, you are considered present.
I'm pretty sure it also will give you an email about who's here and for how long. So that's also a way to check.
Yep. Yeah, I usually get those emails at like the next day. So, yep. But great question on how attendance is taken. Other questions?
What time does second hour start?
Second hour starts at 10:15. So you guys have a 15-minute break right now.
All right. I just realized an easy way you can do attendance.
Yeah,
so you get a list out for people in that hour. Just call up their names one by one and have them respond.
Yep, I could absolutely do that. Some people aren't comfortable talking on microphone or showing their face on camera.
Then they can just type it in chat.
Yep, we'll play it by ear. We'll play it by ear. That's my job, so we'll figure it out. Like I said today, attendance doesn't count because of technology stuff, but starting tomorrow, attendance will be taken. Other questions about world history stuff?
If the internet's being like bad and whatnot, and I can't turn in my project today, like does that count as being late or?
So I don't mark late points on assignments. Okay, but you have until Monday next week to turn in any late or missing assignments. Your Africa projects will be marked missing on Wednesday if they're not turned in.
All right.
Other questions?
Wait, if we turned in the project earlier, would it be graded right now, or that would be later?
I will grade them tonight/tomorrow night, kind of when I have time. So my goal is to get through like half of them tonight and half of them tomorrow. So they'll be good to go by then.
Okay.
Other questions? Yes, no, maybe so. Okay, I'm going to post this video so it's on Schoology so you have it. Again, your assignment is to finish up the Justinian Code assignment for the last two things. Email me if you have questions. I'm going to let you guys go so you have 10-15 minutes to go to the bathroom, get something to drink. I don't know, hang out, eat a snack. I will see you all tomorrow at 9 a.m. Okay, see ya.
Jana.